Okay, boys and girls, and ladies and gentlemen, we are going to read The Funny Thing by Wanda Gag. Now, Wanda Gag is the author of Millions of Cats. You've probably heard of Millions of Cats, but hardly anybody has heard of The Funny Thing. Now, one of the things about The Funny Thing is that it looks exactly like a dinosaur. And so I have a couple of dinosaurs here that you might want to look at. But put you over there. And here's another guy. And Tut, King Tut, he looks like a dinosaur too, because birds did descend from the dinosaurs, as you know. The Funny Thing by Wanda Gag, illustrated and written by Wanda Gag in 1929. The Funny Thing. It was a beautiful day in the mountains. The sun was playing hide and seek among the fluffy floating clouds, and the air was soft and warm. Bobo, the good little man of the mountains, was waiting for the birds and animals to come. To come for what, do you suppose? To come for food. Because at the door of his mountain cave, and that's the cave, Bobo had many good things for them to eat. He had nut cakes for the fuzzy-tailed squirrels, and he had seed puddings for the pretty fluttering birds. And Tutty likes seed puddings too, don't you, Tut? He had cabbage salads for the long-eared rabbits, and he had tiny cheeses no bigger than cherries, and these were for the little mice. And look at them running down to get their little pieces of cheese. And now, on this beautiful sunny day, there came a funny thing, which Bobo had never seen before. It looked something like a dog, and also a little like a giraffe, and from the top of its head to the tip of its curled tail, there was a row of beautiful blue points. "Good morning," said Bobo. "And what kind of an animal are you?" "I'm not an animal," said the Funny Thing. "I'm an aminal." Bobo was about to say that there was no such word as aminal, when the Funny Thing looked around fiercely and cried, "And what have you for a hungry aminal to eat?" "Oh," said Bobo, "here are some lovely nut cakes. And I also have some fine seed puddings," right? All right, listen to the story. "This cabbage salad is very nice, and I'm sure you would like these little cheeses." And look at the Funny Thing. He doesn't want any of those things. He's turning his nose up at all that delicious food. But the Funny Thing turned away and said, "I never heard of such silly food. No animal would eat those things. Haven't you any dolls today?" "Dolls?" cried Bobo in surprise. "Certainly," said the Funny Thing, "and very good they are, dolls." "To eat?" cried Bobo, opening his eyes very wide at such an idea. "To eat, of course," said the Funny Thing, smacking his lips. "Sweetheart, let Mommy read the book. And very good they are, dolls." "But it is not kind to eat up little children's dolls," said Bobo. "I should think it would make them very unhappy." "So it does," said the Funny Thing, smiling pleasantly. "But very good they are, dolls." Uh-oh. "And don't the children cry when you take away their dolls?" asked Bobo. Don't they though," said the Funny Thing with a cheerful smile. but very good they are, dolls." Tears rolled down Bobo's face as he thought of the funny thing going around eating up dear little children's dolls. "But perhaps you only take naughty children's dolls." Naughty means not good children. It means naughty means bad children, he said, brightening up. No, I take them specially from good children," said the funny thing gleefully. "And very good they are, good children's dolls." "What should I do?" thought Bobo as he walked back and forth, back and forth. He was trying to think of a plan to make this naughty animal forget to eat dolls. At last he had an idea. So he said to the funny thing, "What a lovely tail you have." There's his tail. The funny thing smiled and wiggled his tail with a pleased motion. "And those pretty black eyebrows," Bobo continued. The funny thing looked down modestly and smiled even more. "But most wonderful of all is that row of blue points down your back," said Bobo. The funny thing was so pleased, so happy at this, that he rolled foolishly on the ground and smiled very hard. And then Bobo, who was really a wise old man, said to the funny thing, "I suppose you are so beautiful because you eat a great many jumjils." The funny thing had never heard of them. "Jumjils?" he asked eagerly. "What is a jumjil? Is it a kind of doll?" "Oh, no," said Bobo. "Jumjils are funny little cakes which make blue points more beautiful and little tails grow into big ones." Now, the funny thing was very vain. Vain means you think you look better than everybody else. He was very vain, and there was nothing he would rather have had than a very long tail and bigger and more beautiful blue points. So he cried, "Oh, please, dear kind man, give me many jumjils." "Very well," said Bobo. "Sit down under this tree and wait for me." So there he is, sitting under the tree. The funny thing was all smiles and did as he was told, while Bobo went into his cozy little home, which was sort of like a tunnel under the mountain. First he had to go through his little bedroom, and next he came to his study, and finally he reached the kitchen where he usually made up the food for the birds and animals. Now he took a big bowl into which he put 7 nut cakes, 5 seed puddings, 2 cabbage salads, and 15 little cheeses. He mixed them with a spoon and rolled them into little round balls. These little balls were jumjils. He put them all on a plate and carried them out to the funny thing, who was still waiting under the tree. "Here are your jumjils," said Bobo, as he handed the plate to the funny thing. The funny thing ate one and said, "And very good they are, jumjils." And then he ate another and said, "And very good they are, jumjils." And so on until he had eaten them all up. "And very good they are, jumjils," he said, with a smack of his lips after they were all gone. And then the funny thing went home, but the next day he came back for more jumjils. His tail was already a little longer. His blue points were beginning to grow, and he looked very happy indeed. Every day the funny thing came back for more jumjils. He came for a long, long time, and each day his tail was a little longer, but on the 20th day his tail had grown so long he couldn't move about much. So he chose a nice big mountain, and he sat on the very top of it. And every day Bobo sent birds, like you, to carry Jumjills to the funny thing. And as the funny thing's tail grew longer and longer, he curled it contentedly around his mountain. His one joy in life was his beautiful blue pointed tail. And by, the only words he ever said were, "And very good they are, Jumjills." So of course he ate no more dolls. And we have kind old Bobo to thank for that. The end. And that's the end of the story. And it's also the very end of his tail. It's the end of his tail, which is part of his body. And it's the end of the tale, which is a story. You know who was a really great listener to this book by Wanda Gag? My boy Cockatoo, my parrot, King Tut, who was such a wonderful, wonderful listener. Thank you, Tut, and thank you, Robert, for filming our story.